Ooh, what? What is this? A power supply? An old school power supply that has variable voltage? Fancy. So I take these old parts that I got for like different projects that I had at some time and turn this old variable power supply into a solid state power supply into a variable using this potentiometer that I got for a little DC motor that I had before. This volt gauge that I got. Was gonna use that for another project, so I figured, hey, let's try it out, making this thing into a variable voltage power supply since a lot of my little projects that I do require pretty low voltage, and I think most of them are like 2 volts roughly, and little LEDs that I use, and this power supply is what 13.8 or something like that because it's meant to power up like automotive stuff, which is what I used to do as a kid, and that's what I have this power supply for is for when I used to power up old radios or amplifiers, things like that I thought were cool, light bulbs, whatever. And I don't feel like buying a variable power supply. Cheap ones start around $70 or whatever, and I have this stuff already here. May as well have fun doing it. Right here, I'm just taking the power wires off the front and going into the potentiometer to seeing how it works. This volt gauge said the stats said that it would only read 3 volts, but it reads down to 1 volt, so that's pretty cool, or 1.05 or something like that. So here I'm going to go ahead and match up the volt gauge with my actual voltmeter. It's a fluke meter, so it's pretty accurate, just to see how far off it is with the reading, what it's showing, and then what its actual reading is with the fluke. And right here, I'm just going to power it up and see what the difference is in it. If I can get this stupid thing to lay flat. So right here, the volt gauge is showing 1.36 and the voltmeter is showing 1.39. So it's not too far off, and the 1.7s is pretty far off, but it's not bad. Definitely something I can use. It's not so far off, so that's the good thing. I believe this potentiometer has the ability to handle like 10 amps, I think is the most, but I'll never run that much amperage through it. If I need anything high powered, I'll just go right to the front. Yeah, yeah, this is the cool stuff. Take it apart, blah blah blah. Because I'm gonna put the voltmeter on top, hot glue it, make it look cool, blah blah blah. But this thing is ancient, man. This thing's probably from the mid '90s, I think, is when I got it. Maybe even earlier than that. I don't remember. I was a kid. I don't even know why I still have it. And here I am, tinning the wire that I'm actually gonna solder to the back of these connectors in the front of the power supply, just because I don't feel like having connectors on the outside or a lot of connectors. I'm gonna have one no matter what, but I don't want to have a bunch of them. And that's both the negative and the positive wires soldered to the back. And then I just figured, hey, I'll just fish them through the front cover, and then hot glue the voltmeter to the or the volt gauge to the top, and hot glue the potentiometer right to it. Figured make it easy, make a quick video, and just to kind of show proof of concept. I mean, obviously everybody knows it's gonna work, but you know, I thought it would look cool doing it like this. Then I realized it actually looked pretty stupid and it was a bad idea. But well, at least let me finish doing this, and then we can call it stupid, and then maybe I'll change it. I don't remember, but I know since the beginning of the video you saw that it obviously did change at the end. But I didn't want to take a long time doing it. I just wanted to knock it out real quick. I was watching the Laker game while I was doing it, so I was a little distracted. And I put a little, what is that, a JST connector on the end because I have so many of them for little projects that I do with RC stuff. So, and I put a little SMD LED on there. I know they run 3 volts to 3.2 volts, I think. So I set the dial to 3 volts. As soon as I bumped it up, it fried the LED instantly. So I decided I needed a resistor in line. So I figured 100 ohms would be a good place to start because I don't really know what a proper resistance value would be for an SMD LED like that. So I figured to go with a tried and true 100 ohm resistor. Sure enough, it worked very well. And it actually worked well with the voltage drop because it actually dimmed the LED, which I don't think it was actually meant to be dimmable, but the resistor helped. But I did start seeing some smoke right around 13 or 12 volts. The resistor got really hot, so And here's where I'm actually going to modify the casing to actually make this legitimately a variable power supply. At least make it look more factory. You know, and during this time, I'm going to insert some Dremel sounds like spark, spark. Anyways, but yeah, so it's me cutting through it with my Dremel, making a spot for it, making it clean up, get the voltmeter in there. There's actually plenty of room inside there to do stuff like this because it's old and big and heavy. So there's a lot of unnecessary stuff inside of this thing, by the way, by today's standards, anyways. And right about here, I'm just drilling the hole for the knob for the potentiometer and trying to make sure I map all the wiring and everything out correctly to get it on there and fit it in there because that side was kind of tight. I didn't really think about that too much before I actually started doing it. So that's the tough part. And then right here, I'm just marking all the connections because I won't be able to see it once I get it in there. What I thought I wasn't going to be able to see it, but then it made more sense to actually make the connections to the wires first and then put it in the hole, which probably is smart. I should have done that at the beginning, but you know, this isn't something people do every day, or I don't do every day either. So I I learned by fire. So right there, I'm actually putting the voltmeter wires together with the JST connector, which I just fished through the top vent holes again. I just left it sitting on top since I figured whatever, I didn't want to do anything more than I already did. By the way, those stupid little nuts are the hardest thing to ever to get on those little dials. It's the worst. And then you can see the room that I have in there. You see my hot glue holding in the voltmeter. Uh, Keep it more stable. It looks pretty good. It looks pretty tight in there. Everything's clear. Nothing's really gonna get hurt or pinched or burnt. And then insert more screw sounds and drills maybe. And there it is, all put back together with my 100 ohm LED and resistor showing the operation of it. Looks a lot better this way too. So I'm happy with it.